Now we're going to look at how to access the Python programming editor within the within the Lego Spike Prime app. We're going to go to Google. We're going to search for the Lego Spike Prime app. We don't need to download this. We can do this all online. So we're going to select the link that says spike.legoeducation.com. Click on it. Take a second or two to load. We're going to be working with Spike Prime today, so we're going to select this button. And then once we get in here, again, we have our start menu, which will take us to all our tutorials as we've looked at in a previous video. Today we're going to go to New Project. And we're going to choose Python as our coding editor, and we're going to click on Create. And then this is going to open our editor here. I'm just going to close this for a second. We're going to come back to this in a minute. So I'm on a bit of a compressed screen right now. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, give us a little more real estate to work with. So all of our coding is going to be done in the editor here. You can see we got numbered lines, so that's going to be very useful later, particularly if we have long pieces of code and there's an error. Generally, it'll tell you which line the error is on. By the way, I'm not a computer programmer. I sort of know enough to get around inside of here, but this is really just a general tour to get you started. As we saw in our previous video, we do need to connect our hub. I'm just going to go and make sure my brick is turned on. And you'll notice down here, I have the green light emanating from my power button. I'm going to click on connect. You'll see over here, it instructs us if we have the green light, that means we are good to go because our firmware has been updated. If you do get a white light, which would be very typical if you have a new device, you will likely need to update your firmware. So you're going to want to do that first. So we're going to click on the green light option. And just notice it walks you through the 3 steps you need for connection. And another thing I need to make sure is that my Bluetooth is turned on. And you'll see over here I have a blue flashing light indicating that it is currently searching for a connection. I'm going to click on open. And over here, I will find my robot to pair with. In this case, it's called TDSB East Robot. Click on pair. And I know I'm connected now because over here in my icon of my brick, I have the white check mark inside of the green circle. As well, I can see all the different sensors and motors that are currently connected to my hub. And if I want more information there, I can go inside here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit by clicking on the brick icon. And now I can get some live reads of the different sensor values as I change those. So for example, here's my push sensor. If I press that, we should see over here. Right now, it's only receiving values that are either off or on. So we're in the force state there. So as I press, there's values in between, but in order to see the full value potential, I've got to press all the way down to get to that 10 value. And then if I go to touched, it's really straightforward. It's either off or on. Okay, I'm not going to go through all the different ways that you can receive sensor information. I just want you to note that if I have a motor or a sensor connected, it'll tell me which port I'm in. So for example, this is one of my motors connected to the D port. So when I move that motor, the values are changing inside of there. And that's going to be true for all the connected sensors and motors. One thing maybe worth noting as well, there's another sensor called the gyroscopic sensor, and that lives inside the brick. So you're not going to see it. It's not something you need to connect. It's always in there. And you can also read those values here in terms of how tilted the brick is. and some other kinds of values you might find useful, particularly if you're doing Python programming and you're a little more advanced than what you might do in the block-based programming. Also in this area, we can rename our hub. Currently mine is called the TDSB East Robot. If you had a different naming structure that you needed for your classroom, this is where you would do that. Just type in a new name and then click done, and that will become the robot's name and how it appears when you connect. All right, so go back over here. Again, I'm not a programming expert at all, but you know, I know some basic things about getting started in Python. Over here, we're going to have our knowledge base, which is really great, particularly if you've never done any Python before. It'll give you a background of how Python is used in this context. In particular, talks a lot about syntax. So in other words, how the language is structured and the rules that you need to follow, and how when one or more of those rules are not followed, it's likely to lead you to an error, and those errors would show up down here in your console. So that's a very helpful starting place if you've never done any Python before. The other thing just to note is that this is a version of Python called MicroPython. So when you up here, you're importing bits and pieces of that library in each program that you write, so that you're not unnecessarily storing large swaths of the coding libraries, even connected to MicroPython. So that it's more efficient. You're not taking up space on your brick, holding large parts of the computer language that you're going to need to run your program. You're going to import the parts that you need for that specific program. Down here, some basic ideas. So you're going to make all your definitions are going to be down here, and so in this case, we are defining a function. So this is the default one. So it looks like it's going to write the word hi. There's a text string here. It's going to write the word hi onto the light matrix of the hub over here. So even if I do nothing else and I just click play down here, it writes the word hi. And of course, you can go in now and start to change your code. Click stop, press play, and now it should write hi there. So in terms of that early stage coding where we're trying to understand how to, one, get a piece of code onto our brick, it's exactly the same as the other ways we do it in both the icon-based programming and the block-based programming. And it's always not a bad idea to start with the easiest to control output. And in this case, I would think that that is going to be the light matrix on your brick. As you dig down, there are so many different things you can learn in here to kind of teach yourself Python. One of the more important ones is probably comments. You'll see there's a comment right here in green, and it only became green because this, the programmer who made this code put a hashtag before before this line of text that says write your code here. If I got rid of that hashtag, notice it turns back to black. And if we were to kind of upload this, you might even get an error at this point. There we go. You can see our errors listed down here in line 5. It doesn't know what to do. It's not defined. You haven't said what to do. So in this case, we're going to put back that hashtag, and it'll turn the code green, and that becomes a comment. And a comment is simply some kind of information or instruction that you want to have inside the code that is going to either tell the person reading the code, what a particular function is going to do, or it could be just any number of instructions you might leave inside the code for another programmer to pick up and come in and work with your code. So I fixed that code now. So let's see if yes, our code is working again. Awesome. So comments, super important, particularly when you're learning. It's a good way to highlight what's going on in your code and how it works. And then we have all these different lessons we can learn from, controlling the motors. And again, one thing to notice, wherever you see a box here that's has a light gray background and this copy symbol up at the top, that's actually going to allow you to copy a piece of code and paste it right into your code. And so now I've got a new piece of code here. If we review, we're gonna import the motor library from Hub. We're gonna also import the port library because the motors are gonna be connected to the ports. And it says it's gonna run a motor on port A for 360 degrees at 720 degrees per second. Motor.run for degrees port A. There's the actual piece of code there that's going to do it. This, of course, was my comment telling me what this piece of code was going to do. I'm going to go back in and make sure I have a motor connected to port A, which I could also see from the other screen, but I just want to show you here. So if I go to port A, which is right here, I can see that I have my larger motor connected to port A. So I'm just going to put that right here. And let's see, let's just try the code and see what happens. There we go. And as easy as that, we've made one of our motors move. And there's a whole series of different learning modules you can go through here that will advance your knowledge on how to control different motors using Python as a programming language. Okay, so I think we're going to stop there for this tutorial. This is really just to get a tour of how it works. One last thing I think is worth noting, you got to make sure, and this is the case for all the different coding editors. You want to make sure you are renaming your project. So in this case, I'll just call this move motor. We're going to click save. And while that's saved here, you'll notice there's still that little star there. And I want to make sure, that I've downloaded this project somewhere. And you'll see that star now disappears. So I've given it a name and I've saved it. And that's really important because we're not signing into this digital environment, the next time you come, you may or may not have access to the programs you've created before. So I'm just going to close this as an example. I'm going to go to my home screen. And you can see right here, I don't see my project showing up. So I'm gonna have to open a project now. And I believe I called that one move motor. So I'm gonna click on there. Actually, let's just make sure it's the same one. I'm gonna go to date modified. Yeah, move motor, there we are. Click on open. And there is the program we were just working on. So that's a really important point, is you wanna make sure you are saving your files. If you're on a laptop, it's gonna be to whatever folder you have defined for saving your program files. And if you're on a Chromebook, it is most likely going to save to your downloads folder, or it might even generate an extra folder for you. Okay, so we're going to stop this this tour here, and that should get you started using Python with the LEGO Spike Prime app.